Hello, and welcome to the BFA Baby podcast. Hello, if you're watching on YouTube, this is our first also video podcast, so I promise I will get the framing a little bit better today, but if you're hearing audio only on Spotify, then the framing doesn't really matter, so I'm very excited to get into the very first episode of the BFA Baby podcast today. As always, I'm your host, Taylor Hartman. I am getting my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in dance performance from Missouri State University, and I'm currently in my sophomore year. We have a lot to talk about today, so I just wanted to jump right in, but actually no, before I do that, I would like to thank you all for listening. Again, you can listen on Spotify at BFA Baby Podcast, and you can watch the video on my YouTube at Taylor Hartman. The link will be in both of the Instagram's bios, both my personal Instagram at Tayda's Ballet and both the podcast Instagram at BFA Baby Podcast. I'm very excited to have you guys on this journey, and today we are talking about 10 things that I would tell high school me about getting her BFA. In high school, there was a lot of things going on in my life. I kind of talked about this in the intro, in an area that didn't really support the arts as a career, I was kind of forced to navigate everything on my own. I was the only person in my family to have to audition for colleges, to have to get into every college twice, both academically and artistically. And there was a lot of times that I wish I had someone that had done the same thing, and to look up to ask questions to. I relied a lot on internet and blogs and Instagram and people talking about their BFA processes when I was doing mine. So I hope that this podcast can be a help to those in high school that are listening that want to go to get their BFA. And I also just want to send this out as a love letter to my past self. I really hope that in some other parallel universe somewhere, little high school Taylor could hear this. So I thought that I would start, I think I'm going to start from, 10 to 1, bottom up, most important, or least important to most important, kind of keep you on the edge of your seat for this podcast. So the first thing I would tell high school me is that the stakes are not as high as, I think they are, and also if you're watching, I have my notes on my phone. I wish that high school Taylor knew that the stakes are not as high as she thought they were. In high school, I think kind of for everything feels incredibly life or death. Am I still recording? Okay. I think in high school, everything feels incredibly life or death. Whether it's who you're going to homecoming with, it's that test that you failed, it's what you're going to do with your life after school. Everything feels like the world is ending. And that's just not true. And, I was able to see some of that, but it really all came to a head for me when I was auditioning for schools. I auditioned for, I believe, 17 schools, and it was still sort of pandemic times. So a lot of my auditions were tapes, a lot of them were online, only the very local ones, in my state or a state or two over, I could really, go to and, dance in person. So I had the luxury of being able to tape my auditions, because in theory, you get more than one shot. But, I didn't have that same adrenaline. It didn't feel the same. There were so many other factors that went into it with taping. You don't get to see the campus. You don't really get to meet the faculty. It's what it is, and, we had to work with what we had, and I sent in about probably 17 or 18 self-tapes, on accepted.com. I still get emails from them. They're not bad. I just feel personally, traumatized from my collegiate audition experience, and I think a lot of us feel the same. It's if I never have to have another accepted email, I will be okay. But yeah, I thought that every school rejecting me meant that I was a shit dancer. And I'm not. not to get narcissistic in the chat, but I thought that every rejection I got, and I got quite a few of them, my first couple auditions I sent out and got back were rejections for BFA programs. And I feel like that took a really big hit on my identity as a dancer, my identity on my talent and my career choice. You know, there were nights where I was like, am I good enough to be pursuing this as a career? And it's like, yes, you are. One college's opinion of you off of one tape means nothing about your talent. It's the same as any other audition. Yes, work hard, put your best foot out there, bust your ass to get into the colleges that you want to get into. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, it's not meant to happen. And that kind of leads into my like little indention when I wrote this bullet point. I want to tell high school Taylor that she's going to be okay and she'll get to where she's meant to be. You know, I had a really big audition. My very first audition I sent out was for my top college. Don't want to drop any names on the podcast because it's a great school. It just didn't really work out for me. You know, they're a great school, and it was my dream. I wanted to like absolutely go here. Everything I heard about the school, they were like producing stars out of their BFA program. You know, like this was it. And I sent it out, and I got rejected 2 days later. But not before the entire committee got me on a Zoom, gave me a virtual tour of the campus, told me that my essays were fantastic, that I was an amazing dancer, that I was great talent and potential, and I would fit perfectly into their department. And I got all that told to me by multiple people in their BFA program for admissions. And then 2 days later, I was rejected. That lead on was, I think, what hurt more than the rejection. You know, I was finally, you know, getting on my feet, being like, we're going to do the thing, we're going to chase the dreams. And all of a sudden, I was getting seriously led on by adults. And I don't think I was even an adult at the time that I was auditioning. I think I was still 17 because I didn't turn 18 until January. And if you went through the BFA audition process, you know that everything starts in the fall. You know, you're doing everything in the fall of your senior year. So I don't even think I was still a minor when this was happening. I mean, not really, but, you know, just to put into perspective, like, I was still kind of a kid, and it was a lot for a kid to go through. And, I mean, I'd done auditions most of my life. I'd failed auditions most of my life. I didn't get a callback. I got rejected, you know. But when it's deciding your future and your career, it does feel more high stakes, but, like, I wish high school Taylor didn't think that the stakes were as high as she thought they did. You know, like, I think deep in my heart, I knew that it was all going to work out wherever I ended up, and I was going to be where I was going to be, and where I was supposed to be, and where I was going to thrive. But, like, at that time, it just really, I was not feeling it. I was not feeling it. I wanted everything. I wanted it all to go well. I had this thought of what my college professional experience would be, and it turned out completely different. And honestly, I am so grateful that it did, because at Missouri State University, I'm having so many wonderful experiences, both in school, professionally. I'm working with some amazing faculty. I met my best friends. You know, like, it all worked out how it should, and I hope that high school Taylor can see us now and be like, yeah, it was okay. It was okay. The second thing I want to say is that other people's approval doesn't mean shit. And I think I was just so angry my senior year, because I also talked about this in the introduction. You know, all of my peers were getting praised by our teachers and faculty at the high school. You know, they're doing big things. They're going to go to great schools. They're going to get great degrees and great careers, and it'll look great on our high school in the future when we bring them back for career day. You know, and I didn't really get the same expression. I got a lot of, well, what are you going to do with that? Or, you know, she'll move back home in no time. You know, there was a lot of lack of faith in what I was doing. And I don't think that anyone in my high school meant it, but, you know, I really did. It was palpable when my twin was going into medical school and I was going into the arts, and every single person that heard that, you know, cocked their head a little bit, had a little bit of an eyebrow raise, like, that doesn't quite line up, you know. But I just wish I didn't take it so seriously. And I remember I was just having a really hard night, and I was trying to figure out, like, why can I get rejected from a million auditions, but what people at my high school think about me, like, cuts so deep, you know? And I remember and I just could never grasp as to why I cared so much what my high school faculty thought and what my high school friends thought. Because in my heart, I knew that I was going to go to college and I wasn't really going to come back, you know? I wasn't that person that loved high school. I was very much the student that left high school and never looked back. You know, I talked to like one person from my high school. You know, I've been back, not even to my high school, but to my hometown one time in the 2 years I've been gone. You know, like, I just kind of closed that book when I graduated. And, you know, I always knew that that was going to be my path leaving high school, but I remember just being so hurt by the fact that, like, no one at my high school really took me seriously. Especially when I had a twin that was so high achieving. Shout out Megan. Megan, if you're listening to this, you're awesome. Keep kicking ass. But I think especially having a twin that was going to go do so many high achieving things. Not that I wasn't going to, but my high achievement wasn't in a way that they could understand. You know, and it was just, I remember just feeling a lot of judgment, whether it was something that I imagined and put onto myself or something that was real, you know. I just remember feeling a lot of judgment for my choices and not feeling a lot of support from the adults around me. And I think that leads into my second bullet point. A lot of these have like little indentions. You've dreamt bigger than they ever have, and you will work harder than they ever will. And I think this is kind of something I leaned into with my fellow students. You know, they're picking majors, you know, and they'll be fine, but, you know, they kind of cut off their imagination. Ooh, moved my little guard here. They kind of cut off their imagination when they were kids. And, you know, my imagination in my, you know, dream big, touch the stars, I don't think I ever left that era of my life. You know, I always joke when I teach creative movement at the studio, kind of like a mommy and me, parent and me class, I always joke that, like, you know, I was the little girl that never grew out of wanting to be a ballerina, and here I am chasing my dreams, you know, and I love it. But, you know, I think that was something I really had to grasp onto in high school. I really had to grasp onto the light and the dream and the imagination and the passion that I had. I really had to hold that to my heart and be like, this is who you are. You would not be happy anywhere else. You would not be happy getting a STEM degree. Even if it would give you the support that you think you want, you would hate your fucking life, you know? So I think that I really held on to that, like, you're going to dream big and it's going to be hard, but you're going to work harder than anyone else will, and you're going to make it happen for yourself. And, like, I knew that about myself, that I was going to make it happen. And that was something I really held on to in that time. And I think that, when I kind of figured that out, really turned me around, like, really just flipped the switch. And I believe it was, it had to have been fall of my senior year. I was in an English symposium class taught by Rachel Lale. I do not think that Rachel Lale teaches at my high school anymore, but I do hope that somehow this podcast finds her, because she is such an inspiration for me in everything that I do creatively, obviously more academically creatively, but she was a really big support for my art degree aspirations. You know, she talked about getting a full ride to college because she was, like, an absolute French horn star. Like, she could play the French horn like no one else. And I remember before class, I was like, okay, so in high school, I was the star of, like, giving really good presentations. Like, I could make a PowerPoint to, like, end all PowerPoints. Like, that performance, that presentation, it was just like getting on stage, you know? And we gave these book presentations, and I remember I did a presentation. I did two that really like stick out in my brain from that class. I did a presentation comparing the slight spoilers for the book Station 11, but I did a presentation about the arts in pandemics, both fictionally in Station 11, historically during the plague when Shakespeare was writing Romeo and Juliet, and then currently I was making art in COVID times. So that was a presentation that really stood out to me, that was very artistic and creative, and I really had a lot of heart behind it. And then I did another presentation, it was like close to the end of the semester, and it was about the Night Circus, this fantasy book that I really enjoyed. You know, it took me a couple times to really, like, I had tried reading it, I like started and stopped it, but then I read it for this project. Like, I sat down and I was like, this is the book I'm going to read, and I really enjoyed it. So The Night Circus, if you're a creative person, take a read. It's really awesome. But there's this whole idea of the people that wear red are kind of, they're the, if you've seen Moulin Rouge, they're the bohemians, they're the artists, they are the lovers of the dream and the circus and everything. And I did this presentation where I wore all black and I had a red flower in my hair, and then I spread red items out around the room, like just on random desks. I had like a lipstick and another flower, a bandana, like red things, and I was like, okay, if we were in the story, if we were in the book, like this is the percentage of you that would like be nice and la vie boheme with me, and we would like run around and chase the circus, and it was like an interactive thing, and there was costumes involved and music, and it was like, this was an art project. And I remember her coming up to me at class, and I had lunch right before this class. So I would always get there early because I would just eat my lunch and then dip, and I would go get some work done in the classroom. And I remember she came up to me and she was like, you cannot let anyone, you know, if anyone tells you anything about you following your passions, you gotta let it slide off you. And I remember being like, did I miss something? Like, was someone shit talking me at high school and I like didn't know and she overheard and this was her way of telling me? And she was like, no. Like, I just want you to know that, like, I see your face when you talk about your auditions, when you do these performative presentations, when you write about dancing and you tell us about it. And I, like, this is what you're meant to do. And I think having that at my school, just having a teacher be like, I get it, embrace it, that was like the biggest thing for me. And I really appreciate that. Shout out Rachel Lale. Somehow, if this podcast gets to you, I might have to find a way to get it over to you. But I don't know if you remember that, but that was a really important part in my first semester, especially as I was auditioning for everything. I was getting rejected from stuff. I was prepping for the ACT. Like, there was so much happening that first semester. Like, that little boost of, like, you are where you're supposed to be. Like, that was very important. And I think I would tell Taylor, high school Taylor, to grasp onto that passion, grasp onto that imagination, grasp onto that dreamer soul so much earlier than you did. You know, it's always been a part of me, but I like really embraced it towards the end of my senior year, and I've continued to embrace it, and it's made my life a lot better. So yeah, I think embrace the dreamer, the passion, the imagination. If people think you're crazy, like, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, go work hard and make it happen for yourself. You know, my mom would tell me, that's the dreamer in you, Tay. But I fully believe that if you work for it, what you want and what is meant for you is out there, and it will find you. You know, you're going to get there if you work for it. So, sounds a little obvious, but, you know, sometimes you just need to hear it like that. So, moving on to number 3. This one's kind of silly, but I always think of my sisters. Blessed that you're a morning person and were born with a stellar work ethic. These are two things that I think a lot of college students struggle with. One, getting up in the morning, and 2, being self-motivated and self-disciplined. And, you know, I have friends even in the BFA department that, you know, they've made it work for themselves, but, you know, the getting up early, the self-discipline, you know, it didn't come as natural to them as it came to me. And my older sister, Allison, if she's listening or watching, hey, what's up? She always says, like, be thankful that you're a morning person because that's how the world operates. And nothing is more true than that's how the arts world operates. Because if you're performing at night, everything has to happen during the day. You know, everything happens during the day, and all of our dance classes and our BFA classes start early because it's the assumption that, you know, you're going to rehearsal at night, you're going to work at night, you're going to both work and rehearsal at night, you know. So it's very critical that you learn to get up early and you learn to love it and you learn to like it, because it's kind of what we do all the time. And even if my class doesn't start at 8 a.m., like, I work mornings as well. So, you know, you just got to be able to separate that, you know, learn to get up early. But I will not be lying. I do love a nap. I do love a nap. Anyone who's lived with me, I'm really talking Caroline. Hi, Caroline. I know she's listening. Hi, Caroline. Can contest that I do love a nap. But I also don't mind getting up early. I take a nap if I have to be up late at night, because I cannot function late. So yeah, be happy that you are a morning person. I think that's something that I've just always had, and I kind of took for granted. And then, you know, seeing what my schedule is like, I think that it would be 10 times harder if I hated getting up in the morning. And it sounds silly, but, you know, it's the little things you can't really take for granted. And also, I was born with a stellar work ethic. I've kind of always had this, you know, especially in high school. Like, I talked about this in the beginning, but I was the kid that knew that high school was just the thing I had to do to get to where I wanted to go. I wanted to get my BFA. I wanted to move to New York. I want to be a professional performer. You know, high school's just the thing you have to do to get there, and that was kind of the attitude I really had the whole time. You know, I had some fun. I was on dance team. I did theater. You know, I made the most of it, but, like, I didn't love high school, which we already talked about. You know, it was just the thing I had to do to get to where I wanted to go. And I think the work ethic that I've just always had really helped me with that, because I was able to be like, okay, get this work done now. You'll have more time to do what you want. You'll have more time to be at rehearsal. You can stay at rehearsal later. You can get to class early and warm up. You know, when I was going to dance after school, and I was like doing all these things, you know, you can do all these things, and, you know, if you just get your work done, you can do more of what you want to be doing. And I think that's the work ethic I've always had, and especially now that I love what I do. And I remember saying to my uncle that it's crazy how much you start to like school when you care about what you're doing. Like, I love school now because I'm doing what I love every single day. And I think that work ethic that I've always had transferring into college and keeping it up in college has allowed me to do so many things and reach so many goals that I had for myself. So yeah, you know, just be thankful for the little parts of you that you didn't know would really help you. And for me, those are like being a morning person, having a good work ethic. You know, it's the little things that you don't really think are that important, but then they are. We're getting into more of the serious ones now. Number 4 is you're not getting too old. And I feel like if you're in the industry, if you're getting your BFA, if you want to get your BFA, if you're performing now, especially as a woman in the arts, there is a constant pressure. I think it's not the word I want, but I'm going to use pressure here. A constant message, constant pressure that every single day you're getting older, and every single day, if you're not doing something, you're running out of time to make it in this industry, you know. To quote Taylor Swift's The Lucky One, probably roughly, I haven't heard the song in a while, but it was like always my favorite when I was a kid. I loved the imagery in that song. You know, and all the pretty things line up to take your place, you know. And I remember that line always hitting me so hard, even like as a child, and I couldn't really piece together why until I started auditioning, I started doing bigger things, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm racing against the clock, and the clock doesn't even exist. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much of a dialogue that, like, you want the pretty girls, you want to be a young star, you want to be doing all these things. You know, you have to be successful young. And I just recently started listening to Allison Stoner's podcast, Dear Hollywood. It's on Spotify as well if you want to check it out. It's amazing. But, you know, she talks about being a child star. And I feel like we were so exposed to that as kids, especially as kids in the entertainment industry. You know, like, we were seeing kids our age make millions of dollars in movies and theater. We saw children younger than us on Broadway, you know, at the Tonys performing. I always think, too, Neil Patrick Harris's 2013 Tony opening. This season, Broadway looked a lot like Chuck E. Cheese because there was, like, a bunch of kids performers. There was a lot of Matilda. I think there was Newsies. You know, there's some kids there. There was a lot of different School of Rock. There was a lot of different children-heavy shows that season on Broadway, and he made a little comment about it, and all the kids came out. So, like, seeing kids younger than I was having incredible success was, I don't think harmful, but I think planted that seed early on that, like, let's get going, you know. And that's something I kind of even struggle with today. I think high school Taylor, I think, like, end of senior year Taylor really felt it, and I still kind of feel it now, you know. I stress out sometimes because I've never had a professional theater contract yet, you know. I've had professional dance contracts, but I've never done anything professionally theatrically, and that's kind of an avenue I also want to pursue, you know. I've never made money modeling. I've never made money acting. I've rarely made money dancing, and if I have, it's mostly been from teaching, which I don't say badly. I love teaching. I love my job, but there are students that I am peers with that I love, but they've been working professionally, you know, since they were 15, which is their path, and I know that I'm on my own, but sometimes I feel that pressure that's like, you're aging out, you need to be a success. Like, it's only cool if you're young, you know. Like, I recently wrote a novel, and I'm currently querying it out to get an agent to get it published. You know, I want this to be a real novel, and I worked my ass off for it, and I had this goal for myself to be published by 21, which is so arbitrary and so stupid, but I think that dials back to our, you know, you have to be young. It's much more impressive to be successful if you're young, and then just keep that trajectory going, you know. But then you remember all these people that didn't really get to the height of success until they were, quote unquote, older. And I believe it was Vera Wang didn't design a dress till she was in her 40s. You know, Leonardo DiCaprio did all these things as a child and a young star, but didn't get any Hollywood recognition for it till he was in his 40s. You know, the lie of you're aging out, your success is meaningless if you're not young, if you're just on a quote unquote normal path. You know, and we're not on a normal path. No one in the arts is on a traditional path, because every single person's path is different. And that's also something I wish I knew in high school, kind of a bit of a sidebar, not really on this list, but like I said in the cold open, I talked a lot about, in high school, I really relied on people's blogs, people's YouTubes, people's podcasts, their Instagram, their TikTok, you know, to lead me through the BFA process, especially for auditions, because I didn't have any point of reference, you know. And I think the biggest thing there is, like, okay, everyone's path is different, though. Like, yes, people can have good advice, and some advice that I learned was very beneficial to me in my audition process, but no one's path is going to look the same as yours, and I think that's especially something to know. So, obviously, the Miz kids that are in Les Mis right now, their path looks totally different than mine. Maybe they'll stop performing. Maybe they'll continue performing. Maybe we will all be in a show together one day with the former Miz kids. You know what I mean? Like, you are not getting too old to be successful. You are not getting too old to chase your dreams. You are not getting too old to be a star, whatever that means for you. And your path is your path, and own that, and it's successful and exciting, and own that that is your path. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can say. Which leads into number 5, success is subjective. Success is so subjective, especially in the arts where everything is subjective. You know, what you consider success might be totally different than the person next to you, the person that graduates, you know, behind you in a totally different major. You know, success is subjective in every way, both what other people say, what audition panels say, what you tell yourself, what your peers say, what your faculty says. And I'm not saying don't respect your faculty, because my dance faculty are some of the most amazing women in the entire world, and I am so blessed to work for them, and work with them, not for them, but work with them. And I think that everyone's idea of success is different. And, you know, people will tell you, you know, I've been doing this, and I did this, and I did this, and you only did this, or you only worked regionally, but I've done Broadway. You know, that's a very extreme example, but you know what I'm talking about. Oh, dropped my phone. You know, that's a very extreme example, but you know what I'm talking about. And I think that comparison is absolutely so, it's just not necessary, because you're working. Isn't that the dream for everyone? The dream for everyone is to be working professionally and getting paid to do what you love and chase those dreams and smash those goals. And you're doing it regardless of the scale that it is on. You are doing it. And I think success is what you tell yourself it is. And obviously, there's always going to be that voice in your brain that's like, you're not doing enough, you're not doing enough. But I promise you that you are. And that's comes later in the list. But I also have a whole episode planned about like the you don't want it bad enough mentality that's coming up sometime soon this season in the podcast. So I'm very excited to film that. I have a lot of thoughts on it. But, you know, it takes a lot of reflection. And this really came when I started writing my novel. You know, I had this arbitrary, like, I want to be published by 21. But at the same time, it was like, I don't have to be. You know, I'm going to be published. I'm going to write this book. I'm going to put my soul into it, you know? And what happens, happens. And it really took a lot of reflection to be like, what is my definition of success? And for me, it's chasing that dream. It's knocking off goals off my list. It's getting paid to do what I love. It's having a career in the arts. That's success. So in whatever capacity I'm doing that, I'm successful, and no one else's definition of success matters. Yeah, so you're not getting too old. Success is subjective. It means something different to everyone else. You know, just take a deep breath, Taylor. You're fine. You're not getting too old. Number 6. This one, oh, we're getting into the trenches now. This one is something I really worked for. I've really just recently, you know, overcome feeling this way. Number 6, your ambition can be intimidating to some, and that doesn't mean you're unlovable. Which, like, that's a bit of a, that hits. As someone in high school who was so focused on what they were going to do after high school, you know, I was never the kid who had a date to homecoming. I was never the kid who had a big friend group that, like, I've never really dated anyone. You know, not to get vulnerable on the chat, but I'm nearing 20 and I've never had a first kiss. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that lean into, this is where my priorities are. And I think setting your priorities so career focused, so young, like even just in high school, I feel so much older than high school Taylor, even though it was like 2 years ago. But, setting your career focus so young while your friends are partying, they're dating, they're, you know, whatever, you know, setting your career focus so young, I think that's intimidating to some, and that's ambitious. And I've always known what I wanted, and I know that I'm going to get there first before I bring someone along with me, you know. And maybe that's a harsh way to look at life, but that's how I look at life, and I've been successful doing it. I just kind of have to find somebody that gets it, that gets that, like, my career comes first and my drive comes first, and I'm gonna make this happen for myself. And if that means, I always have the example, if that means like running away to London, running away to Paris, going overseas, like, bye, I'm leaving. And I don't care what you have to do about it. Like, you can leave me, you can come with me, you can stay, like, I don't care. Chase your dreams while I chase mine, and we can reconvene when we've done it. You know what I mean? And that was kind of always been my outlook. So then when when we grew up, and, my twin was going to homecoming with people, she has a boyfriend now. There was a period of time in, like, late senior year, early freshman year of college, that I just felt like, just my ambition and my drive and my goals, did those make me unlovable? Am I too harsh? And I remember my roommate, Caroline, was like, men are just sometimes going to be intimidated by that. Because I know what I want, and I'm going to go get it, and I don't care what he has to say about it. And I think that that is a big thing. And I think that finding that group, that friend group, platonic love, I think was really big for me, because I found these people that love me and are, like, basically family now, and they love me even with my high ambition and my crazy work schedule and my crazy number of credit hours that I'm always taking. And they love me for who I am. They love me for my ambition. They love me for my creativity, who I am outside of work, outside of the studio. And I think that platonic love that I have found in college has really kind of shifted my view on myself. Whereas, like, if you want to chase your dreams and that's your priority, and in return, you kind of feel behind on some quote-unquote life moments, again, going back to the you're not too old mention, you're not. It's not a bad thing. Your ambition is something to be adored and cherished, and it's just going to take the right person who's not scared of that to find it. You are not unlovable for chasing your dreams at full force. That does not mean you're a bad person, you're a bad friend, you're a bad girlfriend, a bad spouse, a bad husband, a bad wife, boyfriend, anything. It's who you are. And I believe that your ambition, circling back to, like, that dream or soul idea, your ambition makes you who you are. And you need to find someone that loves you for it the way that your friends love you for it, So, you're not unlovable, even if you feel behind by the societal standards of love. You're not behind. Again, you're just on a different path. Number 7, this perfect segue, you're gonna find the friends you always dreamt of. Oh my goodness, when I was in high school, I, like I said, was never the girl that had a really big friend group. That just was not my experience. And, there was, I had my friends at dance, and then, as you're graduating, as you're working, as you're doing more, that kind of falls out, because you're suddenly all in different places in your life. You dance with girls, and then all of a sudden you're leaving. I'm getting ready to go to college. They're just starting their next year of high school. You become, like, you're in a totally different place in your life. So I remember talking about this with some friends. I had a really big fallout my senior year of high school with girls that I danced with, and I don't regret it. The things that happened were meant to happen, and by cutting out the people that were no longer serving me, and I was no longer serving them, allowed them to go do what they wanted to do, and allowed me to freely chase my dreams and find the friend group that I love. And I hope some of them are listening, because the friend group I had in college is the friend group that I always dreamed of. We are supportive, we are creative, we are funny, we are ambitious, we are absolutely we just love on each other so hard. And the entire reason I started this podcast was because my best friend was like, so why don't you? I said, I want to start a podcast really bad, and she said, so why aren't you doing it? And that unwavering support for any crazy idea that I have, and the unwavering support that I give for all my friends' crazy ideas, I love that. And we are a creative little family. We are, we have family dinners. We support each other. We are not only just creatives, but we kind of span a bunch of different majors. You know, my friend Colin is a sports administration, sports management major. You know, Caroline's boyfriend, Michael, love Michael, he's pre-PT, my twins in nursing. You know, we have our roommate Katya, our international roommate from Russia. She's in linguistics and education. And, you know, it spans a bunch of different majors, but, you know, there is a lot of focus on the creative. A lot of my friends are in BFAs, are creative people, you know, they get it. And the biggest thing is they dream like I do, which is, I wasn't able to put it into words until I really found these friends. And like just this past summer, I was able to put into words like, my friends dream like I do. And I never had that before. And being surrounded by people who both have the work ethic to make it in this cutthroat fucking industry, as well as the dream to do it and make it happen, like that's everything. Like having friends that dream like you do, I've never felt more loved, more supported, anything. And I just, senior year Taylor was really going through it with, you know, stuff with her friends, and there was a lot going on. And I wish that she could, I don't want to cry on the first podcast episode, but I wish she could see us now, because the love that I feel from my friends and my community at school is unparalleled. You know, I feel just an overwhelming sense of love just as a whole. And that is the friend group I always dreamed of, the friend group I always wanted. We create together, we love together, we cry together, we write together. Elijah, as he is listening, my friend Elijah and I literally go on a date every single Wednesday to a coffee shop like right off campus, and we write. I write my novel, he writes his play, we support each other, we talk about auditions we're doing, we talk about, you know, he is in the a speech and theater education major, you know, so we talk about what he's doing in education, what I'm doing in my BFA for performance, you know, the support to chase every single dream. Like yesterday, I'm recording this on a Saturday, today is Saturday, yes. Yesterday, I, during our date, was querying out for my novel, trying to find some agents that would represent it and get it published, you know, and I was like, you know, we always say, like, what's your writing goal for today? And, you know, his was like, I'm just going to write something. And that's, I was like, slay, I love it. And I was like, I'm going to send out 5 queries today. And he was like, you're doing it. And I felt this immediate ounce of support that, like, I'm doing it and these people are totally down for the ride with me. And it just felt very supportive. And I love my friends. They're supportive, they're crazy. You know, when I talk about wanting to buy a camera and start photography and videography and I want to make a movie, everyone's like, okay, save up a couple paychecks, let's do it, you know? So everyone, my friend group is just, they dream like I do. And I think that is the biggest thing that I want high school Taylor to know, is that you are going to find friends that dream like you do, and it's going to be the most beautiful thing in your entire life. Oh, this one is very topical. Number 8, I want to tell high school Taylor to embrace creative challenges and just learn all of the new things. This is something that I really soaked in when I got to college. You know, in high school, a lot of my dance training, you know, it was varied, but a lot of it, you know, was kind of the same thing. You know, a lot of it was kind of the same thing. And, you know, I hold a couple records back at my home studio. You know, we did a Nutcracker every year, and I was the youngest Dewdrop Fairy, I was the youngest Sugar Plum, and I was the youngest Snow Queen. You know, and I kind of held that close to my heart. You know, like, I was proud of myself for that. Like, I worked my ass off, and I got to do these big roles, you know, fairly young. And I think I kind of kept myself in that box, you know, like, I'm the jazz contemporary ballet girl, you know, I'm a stage girly. So then when I went to college, I suddenly realized that I am so much more than that. I'm taking acting classes for my dance BFA, and I'm finding that I'm a very talented actor, and obviously I'm working hard for it, I am, but it's something that I love and I have a passion for, and I'm finding that I really enjoy graphic designing for my advertising minor, and I mean all kinds of crazy things. Like a lot of good creative challenges came in college, and currently in my life I am in a faculty set fall dance concert piece by Brittany Benet, and it is like house dancing, very groovy, very hip hop, and that was never something I would have given myself permission to do or credit to do without being like, you can do it, but you'll look stupid anyway. And I'm really embracing the like, you were cast in this for a reason, own it, learn from it, groove with it, and I'm like really embracing that creative challenge. And even like writing my novel, that was something new. I like, I'd written books before as like a kid, every kid wants to write a book. And, I wrote a play and I set it start to finish, and I want to turn it into a movie, and I wrote this novel that I'm querying out to agents to get it published. Like, I'm embracing all these things and stretching my creativity more than I ever thought that I could. High School Taylor really, I think, both was put in a box and didn't do anything to take herself out of the box, Like, I think I was put in a box in high school, and I was like, this is what I am. This is what I am, And I think, like, now in college, I'm embracing everything that I love to do, and I am totally just pulling in from every ounce of myself. I'm learning so many new things. I'm starting this podcast. I'm learning how to craft. I, like, very much like to do props and stuff for the dances that I teach. I'm doing all these things, and I'm very proud of myself because I am learning that there are things that I love to do that I would have never given myself the chance, the opportunity, the feeling to do in high school. And this kind of leans into something I started this year. I started taking voice lessons this year. I started taking voice lessons, and the biggest thing with that is, like, I was so scared to sing as a kid, and I'm realizing, like, okay, if I want to break into MT, which is something I'm kind of thinking I want to do, like, I would love to dance in a musical, I have to learn how to sing. And that was scary. That is scary for me, because I can get up and dance and act like I can, like, nothing, no sweat. But singing was something I had never done before. So I'm very, very proud of myself for, like, that vulnerability. Jesus, I cannot talk today. Wow, okay. I am proud of myself for being so vulnerable and being like, okay, this is something I need to work on. I enrolled in a voice class this semester. I take voice lessons every week online. I'm working really hard to be great at this because it's something that I want to do, and I know that it will better my career. And, like, it's a challenge. Singing is a challenge. I am not naturally gifted at it. I don't have a good ear. I can't read music, but, we're learning and we're getting better. And I'm singing in front of people, which is something I never thought I would do. And it's a big thing, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And I'm going to, like, give myself a little round of applause in the podcast studio today, because it's a challenge, and I've embraced it and done it, and I'm very happy about that. Number 9 is have some fun before you die, okay? And this is, so we still talk about this, my roommate and I are always like, we're so lame. But I think this also comes from embracing your idea of fun. I was never really a partier. I always wanted to go to a show. I wanted to go to one of those pottery painting places. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to watch a movie and talk about it. I wanted to go to the movie theater, And I think embracing your idea of fun is the only way you're going to have fun before you die. Once I started not hating myself for not liking parties, not liking drinking, I don't want to go to a frat party, I want to go see a show. Once I just embraced what I thought was fun, life was more fun. And if my idea of fun one weekend is staying in and reading Daisy Jones and the Six, I'm not going to feel bad about that. Don't apologize for your idea of fun. And I think High School Taylor needed to know that, because she felt so much pressure to be like, what if I'm not going to make any friends in college if I don't go out, blah, blah, blah. Embrace your idea of fun. And if your idea of fun changes week to week, that's totally cool. My favorite thing to do to have fun is go to Blue Room Comedy Club in downtown Springfield. You know, we go see a show, we have a laugh, and that's kind of another creative thing that I embraced. I never thought I liked comedy until I started seeing it live, and I love live comedy. Not that I could ever do stand-up. You know, that is one creative challenge I don't think that I can bear. I'm not funny. But you know, try new things, and if you like them, great. That's a new bit of fun to add to your toolbox. But if you don't like it, okay, you learned something you don't like and you don't have to do it again. You know what I mean? So just have fun in whatever way that makes you feel comfortable and happy. And if it's not your friend's way of having fun, you know, find a common ground. But like, if it's not your peers' way of having fun, that's not something to apologize for. You know, if your idea of fun is going to an audition on a Sunday, which is literally what I'm doing tomorrow afternoon, don't apologize for that. You know, have fun, live your life, make mistakes, get dirty, all the fun things. You know, don't apologize for staying out too late. Just do all the things. Throw the costume party if you want to. I say this as I am planning for the Halloween costume party we're throwing, but throw the costume party that you want to throw. Go to a comedy show. Stay in and watch a bad movie just to laugh at it. You know what I mean? Like, don't apologize for what you find fun and embrace it. Just have some fun before you die. You know, we all work so hard. Just let loose sometimes. You know, it's not gonna tank all your progress if you go have fun one night. It's not. And I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that mindset, but like truly it's not going to tank your life if you have fun one night, I promise. Lastly is the biggest thing I wish high school Taylor knew, and it, you know, we kind of talked a bit about this, but it's really growing into myself in college, and that's chase every single dream that you have. You do want your dance career bad enough, and having other passions and goals doesn't take away from that. This is like the biggest thing I wish I knew. You know, in high school I was theater president, I was in the plays, you know, and I saw that as an extension of my dancing. You know, acting is good for dancers because you can't talk, you have to have it in your face, you know, that whole thing. But you know, I was always scared to be like, I really like acting, because in my head I was like, well, if I really like acting, does that mean I don't love dancing anymore? Does that mean I don't have that dream anymore? No, it literally doesn't mean that, you know. And when I started writing my book, I was like, this does not take away from the fact that you want to be a professional performer. Like, it just doesn't. It's just something else that you love that you're chasing. Starting this podcast, starting my social media, you know, content creation. That doesn't mean I don't love or have a passion for dance in my performance career anymore. It's just something I'm adding to it. And I feel like, and this will probably reach back into that wanting it bad enough episode, I feel like the thing that's like, if you're not doing what you want your career to be 24/7 all the time, always, you don't love it enough to do it. But that's just not true. We are multifaceted people. As Taylor Swift said in Miss Americana, we will not be condemned for being multifaceted. We will not be condemned for having multiple passions, multiple dreams, multiple goals. You can literally be anything you want to be if you work hard enough at it. And that is my biggest thing that I wish high school Taylor knew. And I think that if she knew that, she would then embrace more things that she wanted to try. You know, I've always wanted to take voice lessons, but I didn't get the courage until now, you know. And now I do not regret that, but you know what, I could have, you know, had a couple more years in me, but you know, you never know. But no, having other goals and other passions that are not immediately related to your BFA is healthy, I think, you know, because if you're putting all of your heart into something all at once, all the time, you know, at some point it's gonna start to hurt, and you're gonna need a creative outlet that's not for anyone else. You know, that's kind of how my book was when I was writing it. That's how my bullet journaling is. You know, I started bullet journaling literally this month. It's my first month bullet journaling. And that creativity has been really good for me. You know, this is a creative outlet that nobody has to see. You know, because when I wrote my book, I was like, okay, I'm getting this published. When I choreograph something, I want this to be in fall dance concert. You know, like, I'm going to be in this play, I'm going to audition for this play for people to see, you know? And that's not a bad thing, but it is just having a passion in something fun and creative that you can do that is not for anyone else does not denote your passion or lack thereof for your career. It doesn't. Like, we can have passions and dreams for so many things and love and chase every single one of them. And that's what makes us interesting and fun and well-rounded and multifaceted. And I think that's the biggest thing is, like, you can do other things. You can be a successful dancer, but you can also be an author. You can be a podcaster. You can be a content creator. You know, there's so many other things that you can do, and it doesn't take away from the work that you have already put in, which I think is my biggest thing. So that has it all for today. Those are 10 things that I wish high school Taylor knew. And I hope that some of these resonated with you. I hope that some of these, you know, are good advice that you can take into your life, whether you're in high school, in college, professional, however you are listening to this. And I think even if you're not getting your BFA, if you're just listening in, these are good advice points for, you know, anyone to take into their professional career. And I just really hope that in a parallel universe, high school Taylor in her little plaid skirt uniform is hearing this podcast and feeling the love. And I think that high school Taylor would be really proud of where we are, especially with this podcast. I've always wanted to start a podcast, so I'm very excited that this is the first episode. I cannot wait to get it out and edited. And I am just so thankful for you guys for coming along with me on this journey. We have some very exciting episodes coming up in the near future, and I cannot wait to share them with you. If you would like to listen to the audio podcast on Spotify, those come out on Wednesdays. And if you would like to see the visual of me in the studio on the YouTube, those will come out on Tuesdays on my YouTube channel. So I'm very excited to continue this podcasting journey with you guys. And thank you for tuning into the BFA Baby podcast. Remember, chase your dreams, and I'll see you next time.